Hey, it's Jimmy here at Big Number One. Today I want to show you one of the newest bikes in the Ducati lineup, the brand new Diavel 1260 DVT. Come over, take a look at it with me, and I'm going to show you guys a few things that I like about this bike. Firstly, how it's safe, powerful, comfortable, and agile. First, let's talk about safety. This bike has some of Ducati's newest technology like DTC Evo and cornering ABS. Those systems are both going to use the inertial measurement unit that's designed by Bosch to monitor your pitch, yaw, and roll of the bike. And anytime there's a front wheel lockup or a rear wheel slip, it's going to use those calculations and apply the ABS and traction control systems to make sure that you are stopping or sliding in the most safe way possible. Remember though, traction control cannot manufacture traction. It just maintains what traction you have, so you can't rely on that all the time. Next, let's talk about comfort. So Ducati has designed a brand new padded seat, and one of the biggest changes they've made to this seat is the width here at the front. For a shorter guy like myself, that's really important to be able to get your feet toward the ground, but also when you get on the bike, you'll notice that your hips are much more aligned toward the front of the bike, so you're not having that constant pressure on the outside of your hips while you're riding, which makes it for a much comfortable ride over distances where you have a lot less pressure in those unwanted areas. You'll also see that this bike is equipped with cruise control to make sure that when you're on the road for a long time, you get a chance to take your hand off the throttle, shake that out, and have a much better brake and a little bit more comfort in your ride. So the heart of this Ducati 1260 is this new DVT Testastretta engine. When they made this change, they did a lot of really great things with the bike. Firstly, they've improved the power delivery from low RPM and moving up, and then they also gave this bike a little bit higher output, even fighting the emissions regulations that they're having to deal with right now. So the DVT engine, that stands for Ducati Variable Timing. Ducati Variable Timing simply means that it has variable timing on the intakes. The way they achieve that is with a servo that actually adjusts your cam sprocket. So when you're at low RPM, when you're really kind of just getting started and cruising with the bike, it gives you what we call a negative valve overlap that makes the bike really easy to manage and really easy to ride at those low RPMs. But when you open the throttle all the way up, you'll get a valve overlap that's actually negative, where it means the valve opening, the exhaust and intake are actually at the same time. So with that, you get a lot more high output performance, and this bike has a peak valve overlap even more than the old 1098 Superbikes had. So it will absolutely get up and run, but that doesn't sacrifice the low comfort that you get out of this bike as well. So with that new engine, this bike is really able to do a lot more, and it's very similar to the X Diavel and then the Multistrada that came out with this in 2015 as well. So lastly, I'd like to talk about the agility on the 1260. So people ask me all the time, what's the difference between the Diavel and the X Diavel? Well, pretty simply, the Diavel is really more of a sport tour than anything else. You'll notice that the foot pegs are directly below you. We have a chain drive that's going to get more power from that DVT engine back to the rear wheel. And you also have a much more aggressive stance overall. So when you're sitting on this one, you'll feel very similar to a typical sport standard, except that you've got a lot more power underneath you here and a good bit more comfort as well. Really, a lot of guys compare this to like the Yamaha VMAX. So there's not a lot of bikes out there that are going to compare to the Diavel as far as true performance and stance. So when we talk about agility, I want to refer to both sides and then also the ability to speed up and slow down rapidly. Firstly, you got a 240 rear tire on the back. That's been something that the Diavel's had since its inception, and they definitely couldn't go away from that when they changed the new bike. What they did do though was give us a new trellis frame that is more exposed now, which kind of is in line with all the other Ducatis, and then also gives this bike a little bit more rigidity than it's had in the past. So when you're pushing through and leaning left and right, running through chicanes or tearing up Deals Gap, you feel like the bike is solidly planted underneath you all the time, even with that big rear tire. In addition, they've also added quick shift up and down on this bike, so that when you're running really hard through some twisty roads, you don't have to focus on rev matching for your downshift. So if you're in fourth gear and you need to be in second, just close out throttle, squeeze the brakes, and stomp down a couple of times, and then you're gonna have the bike do all the work for you. Make sure it's rev matching, make sure your rear wheel is in line with the front, and all you've got to focus on is taking that next corner. All right, so we know now that the Diavel 1260 is safe, comfortable, powerful, and agile. One other thing that you need to find out in person is how beautiful this bike is. come in and take a look. See the paint in person, this matte finish, see these aluminum pieces up front. This bike is absolutely gorgeous to look at in person and is definitely an eye catcher. If you have any other questions at all about it, please give me a call or send me an email. Everything will be listed below. Ask for Jimmy and I'll be happy to help you guys out. Thank you so much and happy riding.